Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today I'm going to be doing my March Madness first round predictions. Let's get into it. So, first round begins this morning. 11:15 is the first game for March Madness. So that is morning for some people. You live in California, it starts at 9:15 in the morning. I live in Houston, so it starts at 11:15 for me, which is still the morning. All right. But let's move on and make my predictions. First four just ended with Xavier beating Texas. In the first four, you saw Alabama State beat St. Francis. You saw North Carolina pound San Diego State. You saw Mount St. Mary's beat American. And you saw Xavier beat Texas in a really good matchup. Now moving on to my first round predictions. We're going to start off on the right side in the East. All right, Duke versus Mount St. Mary's. Here's a fun fact. You've not seen a 16 seed be at least within single digits in a game, meaning, not even winning the game, but just losing the game in single digits, not double digits, since 2014. So I got Duke winning against Mount St. Mary's. And then Mississippi State versus Baylor. I'm going with Mississippi State. All right, Oregon Liberty. I wanted to go with the upset here, but I'm going with Oregon. Then, this is my first upset. Arizona versus Akron. I'm going with the 13 seed Akron beating Arizona. Then, BYU versus VCU. I know a lot of people going with VCU getting the upset here. I'm going with BYU. Wisconsin versus Montana. There's some people going Montana going an upset as well. I'm going with Wisconsin. Vanderbilt versus St. Mary's. I got the upset for Vanderbilt. Then Alabama versus Robert Morris. I got Alabama, of course. Houston versus CIU Edwardsville. Houston in a blowout. Gonzaga, Georgia. This is a really tough one. I think it's going to be a great, close game. I got Gonzaga, though. Clemson, McNeese. I think this is going to be another really good game that you'll see. I got Clemson. Then Purdue, High Point. Part of me really wants to go with High Point getting the upset, but I'm going with Purdue getting the dub. Then Illinois versus Xavier. I think Xavier is going to be a team that goes from being in the first four to moving on to the second round. I love the way they played, shot well from three against Texas, have a lot of, pace, move fast with the ball. I think they can beat Illinois. So I got Xavier moving on to the second round. Then Kentucky versus Troy. Yeah, I'm not having what happened to Kentucky last year happen again. Kentucky, I have moving on to the second round. And then UCLA versus Utah State. I got Utah State with an upset. And then Tennessee versus Wofford. I got Tennessee in a blowout. All right. Moving on to the second, or not the second round, but the south side, the left side of the bracket, south and west. Auburn versus Alabama State. I really liked what I saw from Alabama State and the game on Tuesday, but Auburn still in a blowout. Then Louisville versus Creighton. I'm going with Louisville. I'm not going to overthink this one. I got Louisville winning. Then Michigan versus UC San Diego. I'm going with the upset here of UC San Diego beating Michigan. Texas A&M versus Yale. Texas A&M is a very experienced team with a lot of veteran players on their roster. Have a lot of 4-year, 5-year players. I got Texas A&M winning here. North Carolina versus Ole Miss. I got another team from the first four moving on. I got North Carolina winning against Ole Miss. Then Iowa State versus Lipscomb. I know Iowa State is injured, probably overrated as well. I don't have Iowa State moving on to the Sweet 16. I think their road ends in the second round, but I think they're probably still going to be able to beat Lipscomb. And then New Mexico Marquette. I really want to go with Marquette, but I'm going to go with the upset here for New Mexico. Michigan State versus Bryant. I'm going with Michigan State. Florida versus Norfolk State. I'm going with Florida. UConn and Oklahoma. It's another tough matchup, but I'm going with the back-to-back champions, UConn winning. Memphis, Colorado State. I'm going with Memphis. Maryland, Grand Canyon. I'm going with another 13 seed to win. Grand Canyon beating Maryland and moving on to the second round. Then I got another double-digit seed winning. I got Drake beating Missouri. Texas Tech versus UNCW. I got Texas Tech beating UNCW. Kansas versus Arkansas. I got John Calipari in Arkansas beating Kansas for an upset. And then I have St. John's and Rick Panito beating Omaha in the first round, which since I'm only doing first round predictions here, there's another video where I did full March Madness bracket predictions. You can go check that out. I'm just going to recap what the second round matchups will look like in the East. In the second round, you'd see Duke versus Mississippi State. You'd see Oregon versus Akron, BYU versus Wisconsin, Vandy versus Alabama. I don't know how many college football fans are listening. There was an incredible Vandy-Alabama college football game last year. Houston versus Gonzaga, which would be a great matchup. Clemson, Purdue, Xavier, Kentucky, Utah State, Tennessee, Auburn, Louisville, Texas A&M, UC San Diego, North Carolina, Iowa State, New Mexico, Michigan State, Florida versus UConn, Memphis versus Grand Canyon, then Drake versus Texas Tech, and Arkansas versus St. John's would be all the second round matchups if my first round predictions are correct, which there's no way. There's no way. I always talk about how there's no way you get a full bracket. I also think there's no way you can. I mean, it's possible, but I still think it is impossible to be correct throughout the entire first round. So this is not going to be all accurate, but I like my predictions though. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and peace out.